Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Chucky Season 3, Episode 2, titled Let the Right One In. Just a spoiler warning, I will be getting into spoilers in this episode, talking about a certain death that like me, probably upset a lot of people. Um, but if you don't want any spoilers, just click out this video. But with that being said and done, let's get right into it. So this episode, the main focus of this episode is pretty much the trio, Jake, Devin, and Lexi, trying to find a way into the White House, okay? And they do that by becoming friends with the older son, Grant. Now, before I get into that and everything that happened with it, I want to talk about the stuff that happened at the White House. Um, Now, obviously, everybody's still kind of like reeling from the death of Teddy last episode. Um, Henry's still having trouble adjusting. His brother tries to help him out and everything. I really like the chemistry and relationship between them as brothers. It's very, Grant is very tries to be understanding of Henry. Henry's still like he believes that Joseph, which is what he calls Chucky, because that's what Chucky's going by. He's going by the dead brother's name, right? He believes that's Joseph's spirit inside. He believes Chucky is actually Joseph. And there's a whole funny scene where they're eating dinner and Joseph wants Swedish meatballs and uh, the mom is just like, well, we got pancakes. And Henry, he's like leaning over like, you know, oh, Chucky's telling him something. And he's like, Joseph don't like effing pancakes. And so that's the whole thing. So, yeah. But obviously, just he's Henry is somebody who's very close to Chucky, um, and in very high danger. So we need to keep an eye out on that. Um, but the main thing that was going on in the White House was they're still trying to figure out, was Teddy's death, was it suicide, was it an accident, or was it something more like murder? So they bring in this guy named Price, who's like a secret service secret service agent slash um, cleaner. Somebody who comes in, cleans up messes, like that kind of person, that kind of cleaner, right? And tries to keep things hidden from the public eye, right? So he comes in, he's investigating, the crime scene, and he finds like Chucky's like footprints, his shoe prints and stuff, right? So like I'm kind of wondering because he kind of realizes that they are dealing with somebody that's a killer and somebody who's a professional and they're sick and twisted in the head. Um, but like seeing those shoe prints and stuff, is it possible? Could he come to the conclusion that maybe it's a kid doing it, like Henry? I don't know. He did compare like Henry's shoe sizes to the prints, and the shoe like was like a tiny bit bigger, so possibly not. But eventually, we're going to see Chucky and the Secret Service agent have some kind of showdown, right? And this is somebody who's a professional, so that's going to be very interesting to see. And that kind of led us into the first death of this episode. We got not one but two deaths this episode, which usually in Chucky, it's usually we get one death per episode. Sometimes towards the finale, we'll get two or three. Um, but yeah, usually one death per episode seems to be like the minimum. But we got two this episode. So the first death was the secretary Samantha. If y'all remember from the last episode, Chucky stole that letter opener. It's still been missing. After the president leaves for the day, his secretary decides to go in the office, look around, see if she can find it. She finds Chucky, um, picks him up. Was like, oh, it's a cute little doll. No, Chucky said, no, I ain't cute. Took out the knife, slash her neck, slash it again, and one of the goriest death scenes, like her neck was basically hanging off, like, and from this picture was her angle of Chucky, and he makes a joke and everything. Now he says something very interesting here. He says, two down, four more to go, right? So the two obviously being Samantha just now and Teddy last episode. So he's got like he's doing a countdown of some kind. I don't know. I'll get into that later. But yeah, that's basically what's going on at White House. And then like this Secret Service agent Price, he gets the first lady to basically he calls her and asks her to come to the Oval Office. He finds the body, right? He's doing some investigating, finds the body, doesn't tell anybody, calls the first lady, tells her she needs to come to the office. Don't tell her husband. But very strange, right? So she finds the body. She wants to call the cops. He's like, we can't do that. We need to cover this up, to keep your parents. I mean, to keep your husband's reputation, intact, and so we don't, and so the American people don't freak out. So that seems like that's going to be a thing going on this season, where they're going to be trying to cover up Chucky's death. At least most of them. I don't think I'll be able to cover them all. Um, but yeah. Now, the other thing I want to get into is the whole storyline with Grant. So the kids decide the best way of getting into the White House is becoming friends with Grant. So I'm kind of getting stuck on my words. Yeah, so they decided to become friends with him, because he's posting on social media a lot. Now the thing we learned some stuff about Grant this episode is that he posts on social media a lot, but he's not really somebody who's popular at school. He kind of pretends like he is. He's a little. I'm gonna say he feels like a little needy to have friends. Understandable. He's a teenager. He's in the White House. Obviously, his life has changed a lot. He lost a brother, and he's dealing with that. And that's kind of where they make the connection. Um, they were gonna try to have Lexi thirst trap him, but they basically decide that instead of doing that, she needs to connect. She needs to connect with him on the level of grief, right? So she's looking. So she sends out a message, basically asking him for help finding her sister, and he contacts her, and they meet up at this coffee shop and everything. And the whole interaction was kind of like cringe to say the least. Especially like Grant had this whole thing where like he brings up his TikTok and he immediately asks Jake and Devin if they're following him, and they're just like, no, like it's kind of like awkward, and he's just like, take out your phone right now and follow me, and so he obviously needs to work on some like uh areas where he can connect better with people. But I like his character. I like his character. It's not something where it feels put offish, but you can tell it's somebody who's been through a lot, and he has interacted with kids his own age, and the school he goes to. Obviously, it's I would assume it's some kind of prep school, right, where they send like rich kids, and the mayor's son goes there. There's this whole scene where after he meets up with like Lexi, Devin, and Jake, he wants to invite them to like the Halloween bash, which is gonna be like the big episode 4 that we're getting, which will be the last part to part 1 of the season, the Halloween bash that the first lady is throwing. He wants to invite Jake, Devin, and Lexi, right? She suggests inviting the mayor's son because she's looked into Jake, Devin, and Lexi, because obviously they would, right? He just met them, and Grant is immediately he's calling them his friends. Like they just met, and he's calling them his friends. So you know, she suggests, hey, you don't know these kids. I looked into them. There's some things, they may not be like the best people to hang around with. It makes me wonder, like, when did she find out? Obviously, she would find out about their parents dying, about Gary from last season and everything, stuff that happened in Hackensack, the school Incarnate Lord last season. But did she see them like? I guess she didn't say anything about Chucky. Like, um, would that come up in these searches? Like, yeah, these kids' parents died, and they kept saying it was Chucky. I wonder, like, obviously they kept that side of it quiet, right? You know, but Grant like tells her, these kids they've dealt with death. It's something I'm dealing with too. I feel like I can connect with them more than like the kids at school or like the mayor's son who goes to the same school, right? So she allows to uh she agrees that the kids can come, but she's gonna meet with the guardian. And obviously we know the guardian this season is Miss Fairchild. Guys, as Chucky fans, we cannot have anything good. First season, we didn't get a whole lot with Mr. Fairchild, but what we did get was great. Obviously, at they had that point in season one where she was being accused of the murders and everything. Um, and I think there was a lot of people, including me, that thought like maybe there was more to Miss Fairchild, possibly that she was Glinda. Obviously, that turned out not to be true, and I enjoyed the Glenn and Glinda season two storyline that they did last season. I thought it was great, and it was better than probably what we were theorizing, right? Well, obviously, Miss Fairchild, she wasn't in season two. She didn't really come in to like the last episode, and then it's revealed that she knows the truth about Chucky. We didn't get any details on how she knows the truth, um, right? And this season was kind of hoping for that, but guys, I was totally shocked at his death. They killed Miss Fairchild in the second episode this season. Um, some people I think were kind of speculating that it was going to be kind of like a Nadine situation from last season. You have this great lovable character throughout the whole season, dies in like the third to last episode, right? Um, and everything. I think some people kind of thought, and I can kind of see that, but I kind of see where they're thinking with that, but no. She died this second episode, and sorry about that. That's the picture I want. All right. So she meets with the first lady. They're having a meeting. The first lady gets called like out of the meeting room and leaves Miss Fairchild alone. Right. Immediately when that happened, I was like, "Oh no!" Like, "Oh no, 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 no! She does not need to be alone. Chucky's running about. Nobody knows where he's at because the dog had come up missing. Um, and yeah, so Chucky came out and he killed Miss Fairchild. He smothered her with an American flag, right? Even making a comment about, you know, saying he couldn't resist the thought of making those kids orphans one more time, knowing that's their only guardian, right? So he kills Miss Fairchild, right? Calls the first lady on the phone. She was in a meeting with Price. He had brought to what he thought was her attention, you know. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. She was in a meeting with Price about something. The phone starts ringing. It's Chucky. he basically said tells her, obviously she doesn't know it's Chucky, but he tells her on the phone, I see you like to clean up after my mess. I left you a fresh one. They find Miss Fairchild, right, in the room she just left. Price, comes up with this whole thing like he killed her with the flag, that's the flag is the murder weapon. It's also the message. The killer knows that the US government is gonna keep covering up his murders, right? So at that point, the first lady, she like, okay, yo, we're calling the cops now. Not doing this. We're not hiding anything. Obviously that ain't gonna work. But then Price, I guess, tries to like blackmail her, and he kind of does. He brings up some photos of the president making out with another woman, and she's like when you do this has no leverage over me. We already dealt with this. I knew about it. We dealt with it and we became stronger, and our marriage is stronger now. And all that stuff. And he's like, he basically tells her that may be true for you, but this would ruin your husband's reputation as president and everything. So he kind of succeeds in the blackmail that kind of way. Um, Now moving on from that, um, the kids, the way they find out about Miss Fairchild's death is like at the end of the episode, Chucky calls them from her phone. They're all like at a hotel, the Watergate Hotel, and they're waiting, for her to call, telling them how it went. They were just waiting for her to get back, right? Well, they get a call from her, what they think is her, right? And it turns out it's Chucky on video call, and he basically like, you know, tells them that yeah, he killed Miss Fairchild, and that he's waiting for them. He's gonna be at that Halloween party, and he is waiting for them. They're not coming for him. He's waiting. Okay. So that was Chucky season 3, episode 2. Great episode. Very fun. I really like that Chucky is being so sinister this season. He has some kind of plan, okay? Because getting down to like his countdown, like I said, after he killed Samantha, he said 2 down, 4 to go. After he killed Miss Fairchild, he said 3 down, 3 to go. The 3 obviously being Jake, Devin, and Lexi here, right? And but like, why is he counting down? For some reason, he has to kill 6 people. This has to be some kind of like voodoo thing going on, whatever it is. He needs to kill 6 people to achieve, whatever he's trying to do, right? And he's only got 3 left to do, right? So I think the Halloween episode is gonna be very interesting. Um, Now the deaths in this episode, the secretary death wasn't shocking. They kind of showed that in one of the previews for the season. But Miss Fairchild, I was shocked. Like when she was left alone in that room, I just immediately had a bad feeling. And then when it happened, I was just like, I was shocked. Like, I was like, because it's not something that I wasn't expecting, but I wasn't expecting it this early, right? I really thought they was probably gonna do like a lot of people were theorizing a whole uh, Nadine thing, like last season. Possibly I think that could be Grant this season. Um, I think audience are really going to take a liking to Grant. Like I said, he does seem kind of like put offish in a way, and needy. But you kind of understand like where he's coming from. Being in a situation, losing a brother. Um, I think Grant is possibly going to die towards like the end of the season. Um, if that doesn't happen, great. Maybe he can actually become a part of the group. Um, Honestly, I think that'd be cool. But he might just end up being Chucky father. So I don't know. But anyways, the preview for the next episode looks really cool. It looks like we're gonna get we're gonna find out what happened um to Caroline and everything. You know, it's sort of be like, I guess, like a flashback episode. We're gonna see what happened after New York and how Chucky came to be in the White House and everything, and what him and Caroline were doing leading up to him, going to the White House. So that's going to be a very interesting episode next week. Anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.